Ch.74 Praying for rain, the rain master lends the rain hat. That young boy was completely and utterly stunned. Meanwhile, Feng Xin and Mu King both wished they could grow several more arms and legs to smother Si Lian. With great difficulty, they finally pulled him down. Yet Si Lian effortlessly pushed him away and said, "All right. I'm done. I know I violated the rules, but you just pretend you've heard nothing and all will be well. As long as you guys don't say anything, no one will know. Just this once. Don't say anything, you hear me?" Mu King looked like he'd been forced to eat a sock and shook his head, muttering, "I can't believe you. Saying something like, 'Live on for me,' with such confidence, you're really..." Si Lian didn't think what he said was much of anything, but hearing Mu King, now it sounded like it was quite the something indeed, and he flushed a bright red color. Feng Xin immediately frowned. "Enough. His Highness already said not to speak of it, so why are you still talking about it?" Yet the corners of his lips were twisted. Si Lian couldn't stand it any more and defended himself. What I said clearly worked. Look. That young boy sat dazedly for a long while, but when no more of Si Lian's voice came, he rubbed hard at his face, reached for the offering plate on the altar, held it in his arms, and started munching at the dried out fruits and refreshments. He chewed and chewed vigorously, looking like a small animal, both vicious and pitiful. Si Lian bent down to watch him, a smile appearing on his face. He said to the other two, "You see. It worked. He refused to eat before, but now he's eating. All right, fine. It works. Because you're a god," Mu King said. Right. It works. Because you're a god, Feng Xin said too. Si Lian straightened and became serious once more. "That's right, I am a god. I called you both over because I've indeed come to a decision." In an instant, the relaxed atmosphere turned heavy again. "What do you want us to do?" Feng Xin asked, while Mu King questioned, "Are we still minding this matter?" "We are. It's simple," Si Lian said. "There's not enough water in the kingdom of Xianlei, so we'll go to the kingdoms outside Xianlei." "Go to the other kingdoms?" Mu King asked, hesitant. "Wouldn't it be too far? We'd need to borrow water, creating spiritual devices from some water god, and impose ourselves in the territories of other heavenly officials. They might not be willing." Of course, Si Lian had considered this. "I'm going to give it a shot. It's still better than doing nothing. You two stay and continue to watch over Yong'an. Assist the worst affected areas and I will return to the heavenly court. Any problems?" "No problems. I've got your back," Feng Xin said. Mu King gave it some thought and questioned, "Then what about all the prayers from the devotees at the Temple of the Crown Prince, Your Highness?" "I was going to get to that," Si Lian replied. "Pick out the important ones and take care of them for me. The not-so-dire ones can wait." Mu King didn't look too optimistic, but still acknowledged, "You're the Crown Prince, we'll listen to you. But I'd advise not to let them wait too long." Si Lian patted their shoulders. Feng Xin and Mu King bowed, then departed, leaving only Si Lian and that child in that small shrine. Si Lian exited the shrine, and took a glance back, but didn't stay another moment longer, rushing straight for the heavenly court. Initially, he was going to pay a visit to the few heavenly officials that controlled water, but strangely, a number of them were away from the heavenly court, and only the Rain Master, who didn't reside in the heavens, was around. Si Lian was hurrying down the streets of the court and bumped into a black-clad woman official with a number of scrolls in her arms. She smiled. "Your Highness, you're finally back." Si Lian immediately asked, "Nangong, you've come in the nick of time. Do you know where the Rain Master's residence is located?" This black-clad woman was named Nangong Ji, and was a low-ranking civil official from the middle court. After Si Lian had ascended, much of the grunt work and errands were taken care of by her. This individual was well informed of news and handled affairs well, so Si Lian thought well of her. The Lord Rain Master's new palace hasn't finished construction yet, so the current residence is temporarily situated at the kingdom of Yushi in the south, Nangong Ji said. She gave him the address to the Rain Master's residence, then added, "Why are you looking for the Lord Rain Master?" "For urgent business." "Thanks for your help," Si Lian said. He was about to leave, but turned back and cleared his throat, sounding embarrassed. "Nangong, you're more familiar with the heavenly officials of the upper court. Can you tell me if the Lord Rain Master likes anything?" Usually, when a newly appointed heavenly official ascended, the clever ones would pay a visit to all the palaces of every official and greet them with gifts as a form of social salutation. This was pretty much an unspoken rule, but Si Lian ascended too suddenly, and when he first arrived no one taught him. It was only afterwards that Guoshi reminded him, but by then it was already too late, and things would have been awkward. Also, something like this felt too much like backhanded bribery, and as a crown prince, Si Lian didn't appreciate the practice. In the end, he decided to just go about things naturally, hoping for a chance to build relationships with the other officials through more genuine means. It was an admirable act, but now he'd turned back on it and proactively asked after what a heavenly official would like, sounding quite obvious, like he was about to bribe someone, so he couldn't help but blush with shame. However, he had no other choice. The other gods who resided at the heavenly court communicated through the spiritual communication array, and that would have made negotiation much easier. The Rain Master was involved in none of these interactions, so for a first visit, Si Lian didn't want people to misunderstand that he'd be borrowing spiritual devices for nothing. Nangongji immediately understood. "Regrettably, I'm afraid I can't help your highness in this. The Lord Rain Master is quite low-key, not just me, but there's probably no one in the entire heavenly realm who knows this Lord's personal interests. Sorry." Si Lian reddened. "No worries, don't take it to heart." "Thanks." Nangongji added, "But, if my lord has anything the matter, it won't hurt to pay a visit directly. By the Lord Rain Master's temper, you might still very well be received." Si Lian thanked her again, and followed her direction going southward, arriving at the temporary residence of the Rain Master. It was a small village, the mountains green and the waters clear, a land of picturesque scenery, but see.
Lian had no mind to appreciate it.
He crossed through the ridges of fields, and finally saw a stone slate
with the word, rain, engraved on it. This meant that, after passing the stone slate, it would be the temporary domain of the rain master, and those working within it should all be the rain master's
subordinates. But as Si Lian walked, it was only lush green fields all around.
In the fields were oxen
mooing, mills turning, assiduous farmers planting rice, and next to the fields was a small, crooked,
thatched cottage.
There was neither trace nor signs of divinity, and Si Lian wondered if he'd gone in the
wrong direction.
Wasn't this only an impoverished, small farming village?
While he was doubting himself, a black ox from a field farther away suddenly mooed twice.
It stood back on its hind legs, the forelegs stretched, and it helped itself remove the plow from its own back. That strong and solid body narrowed, that long oxen snout shrank, and within a blink of an eye, it had transformed into a bareback farmer from a buff black ox. That farmer was tall and strong, his muscles well defined, his expression stubborn, his nose had a steel nose ring hooked through like that of an ox, a long weed hung from his lips. The other farmers witnessed this extraordinary transformation, but continued to work like it was nothing. Thus, Si Lian concluded
that no one there was mortal and approached, raising his hands and folding them into a polite fist.
Fellow cultivator, may I inquire if this is the temporary residence of the Lord Rain Master?
That black ox farmer pointed to the field bank across and replied, yeah.
The Lord Rain Master lives there.
Si Lian looked around several times before confirming that in the pointed direction, there was indeed only that thatched cottage that looked like it would topple from a mere breeze, and for sure leaked on a
rainy day. Even his most shabby, decrepit shrines looked more solid than that little cottage.
Si Lian was full of
wonder.
They said the Lord Rain Master was of royal descent like himself, from the kingdom of Yushi.
It
was for this very reason that he didn't bring any precious gems or rare treasures as a greeting gift.
Thinking perhaps that the Rain Master felt the same way he did in regard to those things, which was disdain. Why such destitution after ascension?
Maybe it was another form of cultivation.
Without forgetting his manners, Si Lian thanked the farmer and approached the little cottage, calling with a loud and clear voice, Lord Rain Master, please forgive this Prince of Xianlei for making this abrupt visit without prior notice.
There was no response from within the cottage, and that farmer came forward, hauling the plow.
Oh. You're that crown prince who ascended at the age of 17. Regrettably, Si Lian said. It's nothing regrettable. It's the truth, that farmer said. But, the Lord Rain Master doesn't like meeting people and was injured recently, so I'm afraid you won't be received today. Hearing this, Si Lian felt disappointed, but still wanted to keep trying. Then may I ask you to pass on a message for me? I have an urgent request. However, if the Lord Rain Master should feel inconvenienced by it, I won't push. That farmer chuckled.
No need to pass on word, we all know why you're here.
Feels bad, right? Having
No water in Xianlei. Si Lian was taken aback.
You know about the affairs of Xianlei. Of course I know, that farmer said. It's not just us here in this shoddy mountain ravine, at present, Pooh.
Doesn't know that catastrophe is about to befall your kingdom of Xianlei.
You don't know anything about your own affairs, but everyone else watching closely understands what's going on better than you yourself, and they're probably all enjoying the show, ha ha. You're here to borrow the Rain Master's spiritual device for disaster aid, right? Those were enlightening words. It was only then did Si Lian realize, it wasn't that those heavenly officials in the upper court were all gone at the same time, they all had known what his intentions were, and purposely shut the doors or left a long time ago to avoid him, not wanting to get pulled into his mess. He sighed, thinking, should I maybe really have paid everyone's palaces a visit at the beginning, so it would have been easier to find cooperation amongst my peers going forward. It was a depressing thought. He responded in a small voice, that's right. If it's inconvenient for the Rain Master, I won't be bothersome. However, that farmer said, why not be bothersome? Because it's shameful. This relates to the survival of your kingdom. Shouldn't you cause trouble and annoy us to death? Is it so hard to lower yourself a little? Young people shouldn't be so easily unnerved. Let me say something unpleasant, should the Lord Rain
Master help, it's on account of kindness. If not, it's on account of duty. Lending the device to you would be
based on mood, you can't complain after, either. Si Lian knew what he said made sense, but with such a dire situation at hand plus his unfriendly tone, a wave of anger rolled up and he held his head higher, sounding grave. I understand everything you're saying, and I would never complain behind anyone's back, so why must you predetermine how I am? I said I won't be bothersome simply because I don't want to do anything
pointless and cause trouble for Lord Rain Master at the same time.
But if the Lord Rain Master doesn't feel inconvenienced and I can borrow the spiritual device so long as I am bothersome, then it'd be nothing for me to offer up all 8,000 of my temples and kowtow 100 times. That farmer laughed out loud. Angry. The temper of a child. Here.
He tossed something. Si Lian raised his hand and caught a verdant bamboo hat, the very one that farmer
had on his back. What's this? Si Lian asked. That thing you wanted to borrow, that farmer said.
The Lord Rain Master already asked me to pass this
to you before you came. Use it carefully. If you break it, we won't forgive you. Si Lian's eyes widened. Why?
Didn't I already tell you why?
That farmer said. Lending it to you was based on mood. Other heavenly officials won't help you, so the Lord Rain Master just had to. Whatever the Lord Rain Master wants to do,
it shall be done. Thank you so much.
Thank you! Exclamation mark. Si Lian cried. That farmer added, don't be too happy so soon, Your Highness. The Lord Rain Master may have
ascended before you, but there aren't as many devotees, therefore, not as powerful as you.
In addition, there are recent injuries to consider. Other than lending you that thing, the rest is all up to you. Distant waters cannot quench nearby thirst. That Rain Master hat can move rain,
but not create water.
There's not enough water in your Xianlei, so you must borrow from other kingdoms, and they may not be willing. Only the kingdom of Yushi has an abundant collection over the years, and is rather wealthy in that aspect.
Si Lian was more than aware of just how difficult it was to lend your own spiritual device to a stranger.
He bowed deeply to that thatched cottage.
That the Lord Rainmaster would lend a helping hand, I am profoundly grateful.
I will not forget this.
Kindness, should there be anything I can do to help in the future, pray the Lord Rainmaster does not
hesitate to ask for me. Farewell. With the spiritual device in hand, Si Lian immediately found a lake in the south, and ladled a large quantity of lake water with the Rain Master hat. He crossed thousands of miles and returned to Yong'an. In Xianlei, he found the worst affected village, the Bay of Lang and flipped that bamboo hat from the clouds. Soon after, a small bout of rain fell from the sky. Si Lian jumped off the clouds, landing both feet on the ground. Those half-dead villagers could not believe their eyes, some rushed out of the doors to cheer under the rain, and some hurriedly brought out buckets of all different sizes to collect the water.
Seeing this, Si Lian sighed a breath of relief, and finally revealed a smile. Just then, he heard a voice call
out from afar. Your Highness. He turned his head and saw Mu King appear from behind a tree, his face dark. Seeing his gloomy
expression, Si Lian knew something was wrong.
What is it? Did something happen?
Next chapter. Ch.75, Closing the Capital Gates. Survival of Yong'an Bard.
Your Highness, what took you so many days? Mu King asked. Si Lian was taken aback. Did I leave for very long?
Traveling all over, through the heavens and the earth, scooping lake water, mounting clouds and making
rain, all without care for day or night. Si Lian hadn't realized just how much time had passed. It's been several days. Mu King said. The prayers from all the devotees at the Temple of the Crown Prince have piled up into a mountain. Just then, Si Lian felt the rain fading and extended a hand. Didn't I tell you both to take care of the important ones first?
The ones we can take care of have all been sorted, Mu King replied.
But there are too many prayers that we haven't the right to take over. That's why I asked Your Highness not to let them wait too long, and hurry back. When he finished, the rain stopped at the same time. This bout of rain lasted much shorter than Si Lian
had expected, and he felt his heart sinking.
As the clouds dispersed, the verdant bamboo hat fluttered down, and Si Lian caught it with both his hands. But do you see this situation? I can't get away either. Mu King frowned. Your Highness, you were able to borrow the Rain Master's spiritual device. Where did the water come from?
The kingdom of Yushi from the south, Si Lian replied. That far? Mu King said.
How much power does that sap from you for moving water just once? And if every bout of rain is this small in size and quantity, if you keep this up, how will you manage to answer your followers' prayers? Even without him saying it out loud, Si Lian knew. He was a martial god, and the devotees to the temple of the Crown Prince were his foundation, the source of his spiritual powers.
What he was doing was no
different than abandoning his base, and if he wasn't careful, both sides would suffer. But what else could be done other than what he was doing right now? I know, Si Lian said.
But if things go on like this and a riot breaks out in Yong'an, the temple of the
Crown Prince would also be affected sooner or later. It's already breaking out, Mu King said. Si Lian was shocked.
What?
Exclamation mark. After hearing Mu King's report, Si Lian rushed back to the royal capital of Xianlei. Just as he arrived at the martial deity avenue, there just so happened to be a band of royal guards, decked in full armor,
sharp weapons in hand, walking over with a group of detained, unkempt men with shackles on both their hands and around their necks.
Citizens crowded on both sides of the road, each face full of rage. Feng Xin
gripped his black bow, tense and ready, as if prepared for any sudden riots.
Si Lian cried, Feng Xin. Who are these detainees? What crime did they commit? Where are they taking them? Hearing his voice, Feng Xin stomped over. Your Highness. They're all people of Yong'an.
There were over 10 men, all tall and gaunt, their skin slightly dark.
Behind the soldiers trailed a few old men and a number of anxious women and children. The ones following behind are two.
Si Lian questioned.
They all are, Mu King replied. Turns out, in the past several months, at the height of the drought in Yong'an, many of the residents uprooted and escaped to the east in waves.
When it was only some tens of people it wasn't obvious, but
the flow was endless. By now there were more than 500 people. When 500 people gathered, it became quite the sight. Those people of Yong'an were strangers to the land, had nothing to their names, and the moment they
opened their mouths their dialects would give them away. So when they arrived at a strange bustling city,
naturally they all stuck together for warmth. Thus, they looked all over the royal capital and finally found
an uninhabited green field.
Overjoyed, they thus built sheds and huts as temporary shelters. Unfortunately, although that green field was uninhabited, to those of the royal capital, it was a field of leisure.
The people of Xianlei had an indulgent culture, and those of the royal capital were leaders in that
lifestyle. When free, many would take walks, dance, practice the art of the sword, sing poetry, paint, and gather at that green field. As for Yong'an, sitting at the west of Xianlei, they suffered an impoverished land, and had always been poor, so the temper and culture of those citizens was completely opposite that of the royal capital.
Thus, those of the royal capital often believed themselves the purer of Xianlei blood.
And now, with their land of elegance overtaken by a large number of refugees, cooking herbs, crying, doing laundry, starting fires, the stench of leftovers and sweat filling the air, it made many nearby residents recoil with disgust, their complaints abundant. Some of the Yong'an elderly leaders understood the situation in their hearts too, and had wanted to move elsewhere. Yet the royal capital was already heavily populated. No matter where they went, it was full of people, and there wasn't anywhere else that could settle so many, never mind all the wounded, sick, old, and children. It wasn't easy to move, so they boldly and carefully clung on to that field.
As much as the people of the royal capital were displeased, they were still all citizens of the same country. In light of the ongoing disaster, they tolerated the stranger's presence.
Si Lian listened to the report to this point when that band of soldiers brought those Yong'an men to the mouth of the marketplace, shouting, "Kneel!" Each of those men looked angry and incredulous, but with sabers at their throats, they had no choice but to kneel.
After the onlooking crowd of the royal capital saw the men kneeled in unison, some sighed, some were relieved.
According to your report, both sides have tolerated each other, so what's going on today? Si Lian asked. Before Feng Xin and Mu King could answer, a woman started screeching from the crowd. "You barbaric thieves! Never mind your sticky fingers. Beating my husband like this.
He can't even get up anymore.
If anything happens to him, I'll have you pay."
Next to her a number of people were trying to comfort her, and some pointed their fingers in reproach. "Don't you know to mind yourselves when you're in other people's territory?"
"Yeah, you're a guest in our homes, and yet you crudely steal." One of the young men in shackles finally couldn't take it anymore, and argued back, "We already said it. Wasn't us who stole. We didn't throw the first punch, either.
Besides, we've got wounded on our side."
2. An elder shouted, "Stop talking." That young man shut his mouth angrily. Feng Xin explained, "A dog went missing in the royal capital, and because there was a case where a child of Yong'an stole and ate someone's duck from hunger, there were assumptions that the dog was stolen and eaten by those of Yong'an, too."
The mob went to interrogate, and soon started a brawl. Si Lian was incredulous.
A riot over just a dog. And they detained that many people. "Yes, over a dog," Feng Xin said. "It's gotten this big because both sides have been putting up with each other for too long, and anything small becomes big."
Both sides swore the other started it first, that it's the
other's fault, and this mess of a fight somehow grew bigger and bigger. One of the leading soldiers proclaimed, "Violent assemblies shall be severely punished. You are all
shackled for a public demonstration. Any further crimes are forbidden."
He stood down after, and the next second, many started chucking and throwing lettuce leaves and rotten eggs at those men of Yong'an. The old men that trailed behind started bowing to the crowd all over, crying out, "We apologize, everyone, we apologize. Please have mercy, have mercy."
Si Lian thought this whole thing was making a mountain out of a molehill, utterly ridiculous, but he could
also somewhat understand. So in the end, did they steal? Did they find that dog? Feng Xin shook his head. Who knows? Who can find anything if the bones were cleaned out and thrown away? But judging by their faces, I don't think they stole it. However, verdicts from the soldiers of the royal capital would naturally be partial to the royal capital
citizens.
Stolen or not, there was a brawl, and so the fault must lie with those from Yong'an. Especially since the men of the royal capital loved to play around but weren't as tough as the men of Yong'an, this brawl must have ended in shame, creating more awkwardness between the two peoples. Si Lian shook his head, gave the crowd a sweeping look, and suddenly noticed that in that row of Yong'an men, there was a young man in the middle with his head drooped, whose face looked familiar. It was that young man from the woods, Lang Ying. Si Lian was stunned. Just then, someone nearby complained,
"How come I feel there have been more and more from Yong'an in the royal capital in the recent months?
And now they dare pick fights."
No way, Are they all coming over? Another merchant gestured his hands wildly.
His Majesty the King won't allow it. My house was robbed
by Yong'an thieves just the other day. If they all came over, there'd be hell.
Hearing this, Lang Ying, who had kept his head low letting all the groceries be freely thrown at him, suddenly looked up. Did you see it?
That merchant hadn't expected to actually be spoken to and responded without thinking, what?
Yong'an thieves robbing your house. Did you see them with your own eyes?
I didn't see with my own eyes, but it's always been peaceful before, and only after you all arrived was I
robbed, so how does it have nothing to do with you? That merchant argued.
Lang Ying nodded.
I see. I understand. Before we came, you guys were the ones stealing, and after we
arrived, we became the thieves.
Before he finished, a rotten persimmon came flying at him and smashed against the side of his lips, making him look as if he vomited a large bloody blossom. That merchant burst out laughing, and Lang Ying's eyes dimmed. He closed his mouth and stopped talking.
Si Lian softened the sharp rocks being thrown at the young men, ensuring that they wouldn't be severely
injured. This public humiliation continued until evening, and only when the onlooking citizens gradually dispersed did the soldiers feel it was enough. Only then did they unlock the shackles, warning them never
to cause any more troubles, otherwise they'd be severely punished, etc., etc.
The elders bowed deeply repeatedly with apologetic smiles, promising to never violate any more rules. However, Lang Ying, lifeless, walked away by himself.
Si Lian watched his lone figure, caught the right moment, and appeared
in a flash from behind a tree, blocking his path. The minute he appeared, that young man's eyes sharpened, and in that instant, it was as if he was going to choke Si Lian dead. A flash of a second later, after having seen clearly who it was before him, he
tucked away the hand that was ready to attack. It's you. Si Lian had transformed back into the form of that young cultivator. He was startled by Lang Ying, whose
hand almost attacked him. He thought to himself, this man is strong.
He spoke up, I gave you that pearl, so why didn't you take it back to Yong'an?
Lang Ying gazed at him. My son is here. I'm here too. After a pause, he took out that coral pearl from
his belt.
Did you want this back? Here. The extended hand that held the pearl still had marks of those shackles. After some silence, Si Lian
didn't take it. Go back. The Bay of Lang'er rained today, he pointed to the sky.
Tomorrow.
There will be rain again, I
promise. It's for certain. But Lang Ying shook his head. It doesn't matter if it rains or not. There's no going back. Watching his back as he walked away, Si Lian was left dumbfounded, and only felt endless frustration. Before he ascended, it was like he had not a cloud of worry. Whatever he wanted to do, it would be done.
Who knew that after ascension, all of a sudden, he would be surrounded by incessant worries?
Both. Worries of others and his own. Had it always been this hard to get something done? He had never felt so lacking, so powerless. Si Lian sighed and turned to leave too. There was a mountain of prayers waiting to be answered by him at the temple of the Crown Prince. Yet he wasn't the one with the most frustration. It was the king. The worry of the king of Xianlei had become reality. Those 500-some refugees of Yong'an were only the beginning. With the borrowed rain master hat in hand, Si Lian ran back and forth between the north and the south unceasingly, and created rain by his own power. Yet every bout of rain would use up an immense amount of spiritual power, and 5 to 6 days worth of time. If it wasn't him, there might not be another who could keep this up, of course, with the exception of Jun Wu. However, the heavenly martial emperor ruled over a far greater land than he, and the number of devotees and domains to care for were significantly more than that of Xianlei, so how could Si Lian possibly ask Jun Wu for help and distract him? On top of that, each bout of rain could only wet a small area of Yong'an, lasting but a short while, even if there was
some relief, it couldn't fix the root of the problem.
Thus, after a month, the people of Yong'an officially started to migrate to the east in droves. At first, it was
only bands of 10-something people.
Now, it was hundreds, thousands, massive hordes that flocked
together, streaming like a river.
After another month, the king of Xianlei announced a new decree. Due to the endless disputes and incessant conflicts of recent months, for the sake of peace within the
royal capital, as of that day, all Yong'an refugees must leave the city.
Everyone would be given a set
amount of travel expenses to help settle elsewhere.
Before the massive, teeming horde of migrating Yong'an refugees, the grand gates to the royal capital of Xianlei closed.